enjoy 100% bonus airtime anytime you recharge yourself with MTN Momo. Keep on talking with that 100% feeling. So, what are we doing today?
MTN.
Hello, good afternoon. This is the Midday News. The news is live on Joy 99.7 in Accra, Love 99.5 in Kumasi. Affiliates across Ghana's 16 regions, including ATL and Castle FM Cape Coast. Also, Jubilee and Sun City Radio Keta. We are live on Twitter Spaces, Facebook live stream, and my Joy Online interactive app. The Midday News is sponsored by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol, always a delightful experience. And Duraplast Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC pipes and water tank. Where Duraplast goes, water flows. Coming up, police in the Savannah region begin screening of about 70 people arrested in the Daboya community in connection with violent attacks at Mimpiasem and Lukula.
There is no any activity currently ongoing in this particular farming community. Only security forces are currently in this particular community.
We are live on the ground with our reporter who says the community is totally silent as residents remain indoors for fear of reprisals. Also in this package, World Bank threatens to cut financial support for the school feeding program unless government implements reforms that address transparency and accountability.
And we don't want our projects to become political tools. We are clear. If what is agreed, if the government refuses to do school feeding in the right way, we will restructure the project and do not support that activity.
We've got details, and it's emerging Ghana has failed to access a $300 million technical support for the energy sector because the sector failed to meet performance for results program.
Since 2019, we've had $300 million on the table waiting for government to implement these reforms for us to support it. It has not happened for various reasons, and our offer is still on the table.
We have details in the new energy reform plan, and MPP Council of Elders begin crucial meetings with flag bearer aspirants with suggestions that some should consider placing their ambitions on hold.
We've impressed upon the need of what we call negotiation in political strategy, and that if the strategy demands that some people must do this, I think in the interest of the party and for its unity, it will not be out of place.
There's more, and in the camp of the opposition NDC, it's dismissed calls for the party to hold fresh elections to determine who its parliamentary candidate will be for Ketu North.
All other issues be handled as a matter of grievance, so we are nowhere near rerunning a season of the election.
Also on the Midday News today, Supreme Court declares as unconstitutional age-old practice of chiefs endorsing candidates or their political parties. We have details for you as it outlines what kind of political commentary by chiefs is permissible. And in sports,
Joy Sports has received confirmation the National Youth Authority has spent over 80 million Ghana cedis on the stalled youth resource centers. Details in 20 minutes.
And the craze for body enhancement, with some ladies opting for the Brazilian butt lift.
Some also do it because they think they are missing something when it comes to men, and this will fetch them. But for me, I have had BBL and I'm still selling food.
Plastic surgeon warns against engaging unqualified professionals in body enhancement procedures. We've got all that for you here on the Midday News. I'm Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah. This is Joy News, independent, fearless and credible. Details in a moment. It's a pleasure to have you hear the details now. Police in the Savannah region say they've begun screening about 70 people who were arrested in Daboya in connection with violent attacks at Mimpiasem and Lukula. These are two communities. Now, the police is further pursuing others suspected to have taken part in the attack, which led to the destruction of several homes, forcing many to flee. We'll be live there shortly, but first let's hear from DCE for North Gonja, Adam Iliasu, who says the development is a resurgence of an existing misunderstanding.
Almost every year it will resurface and then the security will go in. Just 3 months ago or so, it came up strongly and then both police and military were there for 2 weeks. Then the place was calm, they left. Only last Friday or this Saturday that it started, they will send the police there. Somewhere Monday, Tuesday, we heard that the people were preparing to come there again. Then we added a number of police. When we saw that the threat was becoming too much, we added some number from Daboya to go and support.
You had the DCE for North Gonja, Adam Ilyasu. Now our Northeast correspondent, Ilyasu Tanko, brings us a background to the clashes.
The tensions really escalated during the creation of the new regions, and the areas that is currently in dispute are occupied by Mamprosis and Complements, even though so these people that are occupying these communities said they have been neglected by the Savannah region for too long, and so they wanted to join the Northeast region. And this is where the conflict started. And so subsequently, tensions have been simmering between these two tribal groups in that area. Only 3 months ago, there was the violence between Mempasem, where that particular community was burned down, and then this particular incident started. Since the start of this tension, both the Savannah Regional Security Council and the Northeast Regional Security Council have been putting in effort to resolve it. They created or formed a committee to look into this particular matter. Last year in December, the Northeast Regional Minister said the committee's report is ready, but then they would have to forward it to the Boundary Commission to come in to resolve this particular matter.
You heard Ilyasu Tanko there. He is our Northeast regional correspondent. Let's now bring in our Savannah regional correspondent, Isaac Nyonya, who is currently in the Daboya community. Isaac, we understand that about 70 people are being screened, but we also know that a person lost his life. Another is struggling in the hospital due to gunshot wounds. What's the latest?
Yes, Hannah, you are actually right, Bernice. The police source said about 70 people have been surrendered this morning by a good number of police officers that were transported in at dawn. And out of that, the one person that was already shot dead yesterday is an elderly person. This morning, based on the sweep that was conducted, our sources within the police and the community also state that the gentleman was among those that they were trying to arrest. But in the attempt to escape, I think it was a stray bullet that got him. At the Daboya Health Center at the moment, we are told that he's losing more blood, and they are finding a way of transporting him to Tamale Teaching Hospital where he can access tertiary medical attention. Also, to add to that, based on the arrest this morning, almost all everybody's, male in particular, have left the town Daboya, and then the few who are there are women and children, those who were able to go to school, their parents when they retrieve them from school. So also teachers have left the town, and then they are locating to Busunu. The parents and their children are indoors. You don't see anybody visibly. All commercial activities have come to halt, and then the police have increased their visibility in Daboya, Nepiasa, and Lukula to be able to restore law and order. I will speak now. We are told by the security sources that the boundary between Lukula and then that of Wasipe have been taken over by the police. They don't allow any exit or any entrance by anybody whatsoever.
Isaac Nyonya, the reporting from the Savannah region and specifically in the community of Daboya, where about 70 people have been picked up by the police in connection with clashes in Mempasem and Lukula communities. We will keep our eyes on this and furnish you with details in subsequent bulletins. Moving on, the governing NPP's Council of Elders is holding crucial meetings with flag bearer aspirants, and there's a suggestion that some should consider placing their ambitions on hold. 10 individuals, including Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, former Trades Minister Alan Kojo Trematin, and former Agric Minister Dr. Ofria Kuto have all picked nomination forms. Chairman of the Council of Elders, Hackman Owusu-Agyemang, believes the party's interest will be better served if the aspirants could agree on what he calls a consensus candidate.
That competition is the name of the game in democracy. But when the results are known and we know who the person is, then all of us have to rally around the candidate and push him forward. And that we have been impressing upon them. So it's not too early, and I believe that it's going down well. Then so far what we've done has been very interesting, getting to know some of them. And some of the programs they have up their sleeves are also very exciting.
Okay.
So that's what we are doing, sir.
Any possibility you'd advise some of them to probably reconsider stepping down and then, trying to do it another time?
Yes, sir. We've impressed upon them the need of what we call negotiation in political strategy, and that if the strategy demands that some people might do this, I think in the interest of the party and for its unity, it will not be out of place. But quite obviously, so far, everybody wants to stand. But I think that even after the Electoral College, we keep talking as a fraternity, and we should be able then to understand ourselves. But if it doesn't work, so be it. We will go for the election and eventually find who the winner is. For my personal view, I think that if we can look at the issue of getting a consensus candidate, it will help us tremendously.
You have an idea who that consensus candidate could be?
No, sir. I can't. At this moment, I can't. But I think the way I see it, honestly, it will be difficult to get a consensus candidate because everybody comes in and everybody thinks that he is winning. I think this is the duty of democracy. Everybody thinks he wins. If they get a 0.001%, they come and before the election they think they win. So it will be very difficult. And I cannot hazard a guess at all as to who the consensus candidate will be. But I think if it does happen, then it will be lie in the bosom of the party, some of them, to look at it. But it's very difficult. So I think it's becoming chasing some stars which we might not get. But I wish we could get a consensus candidate, and then we would have had it that way.
This on a lighter note. When you were also contesting at the time, did you feel that you were going to win?
Yes, I mean, that's why it's John of blessed memory, he rest in peace, said, fear delegates. They give you the impression that you are the one and the only one who are going to win.
You heard Chairman of the NPP's Council of Elders, Hackman Owusu-Agyemang, speaking to Winston Amwa on the Super Morning Show. Now, the NPP also says two persons have picked forms seeking to represent the party in the Asin North by-elections. Evans Nimako is Director of Elections.
Two people had picked up their nomination forms. We had Frederick Amwache and Charles Opoku. Nomination comes to an end. The party's committee, chaired by the National First Vice Chairperson, Mr. Dankwa Smith, was set with the committee to conduct the vetting. EC itself is tied with time because it must operate within 30 days.
Director of Elections at the NPP, Evans Nimako. To the NDC's camp now, it has dismissed calls for the party to hold fresh elections to determine who will be its parliamentary candidate for Ketu North. The Ketu North parliamentary primaries witnessed a misunderstanding between Edem Agbana and his contender John Adanuzewu after the Electoral Commission established that 3 ballot papers had not been stamped, but the party declared Edem Agbana winner. Some concerned delegates are demanding fresh polls. Enoch Amedegbe is spokesperson.
Candidates, as declared by the Electoral Commission, overturning the declaration by the EC is not in the best interest of the party in the Ketu North constituency, and the rationale behind that unprecedented declaration is not in the interest of the whole NDC family. The verification stamped provides evidence that a ballot paper has been issued.
We can now hear from the party's Deputy General Secretary, Mustafa Gbande, who says the NDC will not consider a re-election because the earlier process was transparent.
Oh no, we have resolved that matter at the national level, and the elected parliamentary candidate was declared by the National Executive Committee, and that ends the matter. We are too far away from taking up all other issues being handled as a matter of grievance. So we are.
Apologies for the low quality in sound there, but that was Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, Mustafa Bande, saying the party will not consider a re-election in the Ketu North constituency. Now, the Supreme Court has, in a unanimous decision, declared that it is unconstitutional for chiefs to endorse candidates or their parties. The courts, however, pointed that chiefs praising or lauding the policy of a candidate is permissible. This is the Apex Court's decision in a case filed by legal practitioner Elom Kwame Goni against the Attorney General. Legal Affairs correspondent Joseph Akable reports.
Ghana's constitution bans chiefs from participating in active party politics. Chiefs wishing to do so and also to contest political office are required to abdicate the stool or skin they occupy. What constitutes active party politics has been a subject of spirited public debate, with some insisting chiefs' endorsement of parties, candidates and their policies is within the law. Despite the uncertainty, chiefs have not shied away from speaking.
The work you are doing here, I didn't see Kwame Nkrumah, but from 1979 to date, no one can say he has worked more than you.
79 to date.
Anyone who disagrees, I will turn into a serial caller, and if that person defeats me in such a debate, I will abdicate.
Some have had to even at times clarify their comments.
If comes, you cannot say something against him. In the same way, your younger brother who has left also came. You can't say something against him.
Various experts have raised concerns as well.
If the House of Chiefs cannot manage their own people, they are supported by God, they give them big cars and all that. And I understand some persons. You see, so it's a very difficult situation.
Legal practitioner Elom Kwame Goni took the matter to the Apex Court, seeking its interpretation. The court, in its judgment, authored by Justice Emmanuel Yoni Kulendi, laid down what comments are lawful and which ones are unconstitutional. The court said statements that praise a policy or program or a project of a candidate or a party are permissible endorsements. On the other hand, those other statements where a chief is heard endorsing the person of the candidate or his party or urging voters to vote for them are the kind of, quote, taking sides, end quote, in a partisan political contest that the Constitution disapproves of.
Legal Affairs correspondent Joseph Akable with that report. This is the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, government has promised to immediately clear all 5 outstanding coupons owned pensioner bondholders in 2 weeks. This is the outcome of a meeting between the Finance Ministry and the Pensioner Bondholders Forum. James Aveji is there for Joy News and joins me. James, did the meeting resolve the payment plan?
Yes, Bernice. So 3 key issues have been agreed on. We know that the outstanding coupons are 5 as well as 4 principals. And so the decision on the principals is that in 4 weeks, government will try and declare that. The pensioners have also been calling for government to pay interest on that. There was a decision that was taken on that as well. We can listen to Dr. Edu Anani brief us after the meeting.
Well, the outcome of the meeting is that the ministry is going to pay the outstanding coupons immediately. So 5 coupons are outstanding. Those coupons are going to be paid immediately. On the principal,
if they say immediately, what does that mean?
They will start the arrangement from today. So we believe by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we would have seen it. For the principal, the ministry is asking for 2 weeks to pay all the outstanding principals. The first one is outstanding for 102 days now. So principals that has been outstanding from February 20th up to 29th May. They are going to pay that within 2 weeks.
Dr. Edouard Nientri is convener of the Pensioner Bondholders Forum. Earlier, you heard my colleague James Aveji. This is the midday news. Just gone by, police in the Savannah region screen about 70 people arrested in Daboya in connection with violent attacks at Mimpasem and Lukula communities. And still to come, the craze for body enhancement, with some ladies opting for the Brazilian butt lift.
Some also do it because they think they are missing something when it comes to men, and this will fetch them. But for me, I have had BBL and I'm still selling food.
Imagine say water wake up at dawn, no bath, no chop, where it vanish for your area for 2 weeks. You not get one drop safe inside your tank.
Hey.
Haja, our life was in dangerous. Only our neighbor get water with water tank.
Water tank?
Yes, water tank. Mamma mia, that water tank get meter for checking water level. That water tank be fine past Kumasi Selenium. That water tank be tough like Ghana Army. That water tank, they carry water pepe, so say some no go left inside the supply tank. What a tank! As my boss, Mr. Poncho, go talk.
Beautiful, durable, with water level indicator and accurate volume of water. Water tank. What a tank! By Duraplast.
Thanks for staying on the Midday News with me, Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah. It's now time for sports, and Michelle Quinn is here with the latest.
The National Youth Authority, NYA, has provided partial information to Joy Sports on funds received by the authority from the District Assembly's Common Fund since 2020 and how much of that has been invested in each of the multi-purpose youth resource centers. Here's Muftaw Nabila Abdullah with more.
The authority, in a document submitted to Joy Sports, revealed that it received over 119 million Ghana cedis from the District Assembly's Common Fund from 2020 to date. The document, signed by the Director of Administration of the National Youth Authority, Anaman Mensah, on behalf of the Chief Executive Officer, claimed that about 70% of the total amount has been spent on the multi-purpose youth resource centers being constructed across the country. He, however, did not provide a breakup of how much has been spent on each of the facilities as requested by Joy Sports. The Ministry of Youth and Sports and the National Youth Authority had earmarked and invested about $4 million for the renovation of the Azuma Nelson Youth Resource Center alone, while the other 9 facilities were to cost $1.8 million or more. Most of these facilities were near completion but were abandoned in 2020 due to a reported lack of funds. But with 83 million Ghana cedis invested in the projects so far, not one has been completed and handed over yet.
Elsewhere, Black Stars captain Andre Ayew has been released by Nottingham Forest following the expiration of his contract. He joined the club in January this year and made 13 appearances for them this season. Game plan will be on at 1:15.
Thank you, Michelle. Now, the World Bank is warning it may be forced to cut financial support to the school feeding program unless government implements reforms that address transparency and accountability. The social intervention program, which started in 2005, seeks to enhance food security and reduce hunger in line with the UN Millennium Development Goals on hunger, poverty and malnutrition. Over the years, however, it's been plagued with funding challenges. Currently, some caterers are on strike over non-payment of arrears. Speaking to George Riafe, the World Bank Country Director Pierre-Franck Laporte says the politicization of the program is also a concern for the bank.
We've been talking very, very directly with both the Finance Ministry now and the Ministry of Local Government on the school feeding program. Because school feeding program, we know it can get very political. There can be favors and stuff like that. And we've been very clear. In the new project, we expect full transparency and accountability in the way school feeding programs are given out. So, and we are clear. If tomorrow, because what we do, not because we want to do it, we want to do things the right way, in line with good practice everywhere else, and we don't want our projects to become political tools. So we are clear. If what is agreed, or what is agreed, because we agree, we're going forward. If the government refuses to do school feeding in the right way, we will restructure the project and do not support that activity. I'll just give you an example.
Yeah.
You mentioned
free SHS.
Free HSS.
Yeah.
It's important because countries like Ghana, developing countries, government needs to support.
Pierre-Frank Laporte is World Bank country director. It's also emerging that Ghana has failed to access a $300 million technical support grant for the energy sector because the country failed to meet a performance for results program. The World Bank is warning Ghana's economy will struggle to get out of the current challenges unless the new energy reforms program is implemented. Here's country director of the World Bank, Pierre-Frank Laporte again.
The first one is your tariff structure. Basically, the reason why you've seen tariff increases is because Ghana is selling energy to the public and to companies lower than production costs. Where there's a lack of progress is in collection. You produce electricity, you sell, and then you don't collect the money. Where is the money going? Either people are stealing electricity or some companies are not paying, and is ECG doing enough to collect? Probably not, as we see. And they recognize that they are implementing reforms. Hopefully, we will support to improve collection. Sometimes, it's not only in Ghana. Governments don't pay their bills. Yeah. But here, I think, again, as part of these whole things, there's debt from a long time. Some governments, some ministries don't pay. And government has to get tough. You get your budget, you pay your bills.
That's World Bank country director Pierre-Frank Laporte. To some other stories now. Some members of Parliament's Government Assurance Committee are accusing Education Minister Dr. Yawoseye Duchum of misleading Parliament when he told the House all schools had received textbooks. For more than 3 years, government implemented a new curricula for basic schools without the requisite textbooks. The minister told the committee last year the books had been distributed, but checks reveal the claim is not wholly accurate. Member of the committee, Andrew Dari Chiwite, tells Joy News the minister misled Parliament despite being under oath.
Not so. We are still living in this particular school, Apeuska MA Basic School. It came out clearly that what the minister said is not the case on the ground. We have a very huge deficit. The JSS2, for instance, the whole of JSS2, they have no book, not a single textbook. They are being prepared for exams next year. The JSS1, for instance, they have very few quantities. And so what the minister reports to us is not what is on the ground.
Andrew Dari Chiwite is a member of Parliament's Government Assurance Committee. Now, CEO of Kolebu Teaching Hospital and consultant plastic surgeon Dr. Opoku Wariampoma is warning women who may want to undergo body enhancement procedures not to seek the services of unqualified professionals. According to him, any compromise in cosmetic reconstruction processes can lead to permanent damage and deformities. Dr. Ampoma's comments follow the trend for Brazilian butt lift by most women. But what will make a woman want to slice, slash, and stuff herself in these perilous procedures and often maim and mutilate themselves? Abba Martin explains why she did the BBL.
It's very painful, especially when you're going through the massages period. That is when you have to put on your fur. Everybody and their perception or opinion about BBL. Most of the young ladies do it because they want to look good in clothes, and some also do it because they think they are missing something when it comes to men, and this will fetch them. But for me, I have had BBL and I'm still selling food.
But the men have come, right? You're getting more men.
Oh, you get, for me, I don't really even care about that. If you come, yeah, they'll come a lot.
Do they pay?
No, for me, that is not me. Even if you come to me, I'll make you my customer to patronize my food.
Well, that's a lady explaining why she underwent surgery to lift her butt. Well, we can now listen to Dr. Opoku Wariampoma, who is warning against the services of unqualified personnel for cosmetic body surgeries.
Most of these people are not really that experienced to do so. So the attempts, of course, they may get some good results. And one of the deceptive things about it is that because of social media, people will put up all the pictures on their website. Now, if you are a surgeon and you did 100 operations and even 20 of them went bad, that's a bad result. I mean, that is bad. Okay. So somebody may do 100, maybe 70 of them are bad, but then the 30 that are good, you put them up on his website and you think, well, this guy is a great guy. And then you go there and then you have a disaster. So you need to research who you are, the practitioner, what is qualification. Then the other thing is that where is he practicing? Is he in a licensed facility that does these things regularly? Because he doesn't work alone. He works with a team of staff, and especially the anesthetist, the one who is going to look after you whilst you are sedated or you've gone under full anesthesia.
You heard the CEO of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and consultant plastic surgeon Dr. Opokuware Ampoma. And before we go, musician Stonebwoy says African acts deserve to work with the very best in the industry to gain global attention. This is why he went all out to utilize some of the world's best sound engineers on his Fifth Dimension album. Listen.
Ginton is one Amsterdam guy who produced on Drake's last album as well. So these are people who understand the craft and the qualities of what they are using to produce what. And I think we deserve these type of sounds as well. So I just went all the way up on every single song, even the ones that are produced in Ghana match up to the international standards that they have to be. Shout outs to Gazi who produced Manoji. Imagine Guilty Beats.
Yeah.
You know, he done on Beyonce's album.
Amazing guy.
He produced Run the production from Life and Money with J5, who's done Burner's albums, etc. Therapy and More of You was done by Super Dupes, who's done Bruno Mars.
Into the future with you, I'm not gonna leave you at the end of the road.
And that's musician Stonebwoy. Well, on News File tomorrow, June 3, host Samson Ladianyenene and his guest will discuss the worsening illegal mining situation, implications for the Supreme Court ruling that described as unconstitutional the former Auditor General Daniel Domelevu's forced leave by the President, as well as the upcoming parliamentary by-election in the Asin North constituency. News File is on every Saturday at 9 a.m. is brought to you by MTN Bank of Africa, Robert & Sons Limited, Duraplast and Waylead. And that's how we end this edition of the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM with me, Bernice Abu-Baidoo Lansah. I was brought to you by Petrosol, your clean fuel in full quantity. Petrosol, always a delightful experience, and Duraplast Ghana Limited, producers of quality PVC pipes and water tank. Where Duraplast goes, water flows. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com, including NPP elders to hold aspirants responsible for supporters' foul comment. Do stay with us here on your most credible news source. Up next is Living Word.